All right, so for my building, I have a couple reference images, things I just kind of sketched out just to get ideas of different things and thoughts and whatever else, right? So you want to have obviously some ideas. I have a whole Pinterest page full of stuff. Um, this is the building that I'm going to demo. I'll also show some of my other buildings just so you can get an idea again of just the process, different things you can try. I kept it pretty simple, but I want to again kind of show just how we take these simple things and make them a lot more fancy. So these are just different iterations of buildings. You know, this was kind of like me trying out what would happen if I did these steps. Colored it this way, what does it look like? And then I built that one, which is off one of my drawings. And based off of those, I decided to build this random thing. That's kind of cool. I don't know what I'm going to use that for, but maybe I'll never use it. There's another building. This one is only this part of the building, so I only built that quarter. I'm only going to see that quarter. I don't need to build all four sides of it. If I'm doing my rendering from just like that, that's all I need. The windows are kind of fancy. You can see how I have this separated into these four big blocks here and then these little blocks. And then the same thing here. Now we have two blocks, and little blocks, and these have two blocks, little blocks like that. Okay. The door here is more of like this kind of neat shape, and then that's this. That one was which one? Circular building. And then this one, which is a simplified version of the other one. I didn't care for this one at all. Sometimes you'll build stuff and you just won't like it. And then we'll get to this one. Cool. All right. So this one, if I go and render this out, I actually put this into an environment. So I actually grabbed an image from online, and I lined up my camera with where my building was, and then I rendered it, and then boom, there it is. So that same use background or matte shader ground plane, that's all that's there. And then I added some basic lights, and then I can see there's my building. So it's a good way to kind of visualize it to see if your lighting and your stuff feels right. If this building looked totally out of place, then I would know right away something's wrong. Okay. So my first step is I made a project. So I went to project window, set up my stuff, and I started building. When I do this, I want to get a rough shape of the building first before I do anything else. So in that case, I had this idea of this tall building. It kind of rounds off at the bottom like a pear, and then comes up to not obviously a full point, but somewhat of a point. And then it's also twisted. So that's the idea with this. So I'm going to go to my cube. I'm going to go to the width settings and add some divisions here. Go to the depth, add some settings. And then for my height, I'm going to add a bunch of divisions there. Okay. I'm looking at this as windows. That's the idea. If you look at the size of these and say, okay, each one of those is going to be a window, it makes your job a lot easier to kind of visualize what's going to be happening. As something gets smaller, the windows are going to get smaller. As something gets bigger, the windows are going to get bigger. So you have to be aware of that as you're modeling your stuff. So now I'm going to go to my deform menu, go to nonlinear, and I'm just going to pop this off so I can keep that over there. I'm going to go to, where is it? Twist. Can't read today. I'm going to go to start angle. Nope, I'm going to go to end angle. There it is. And now I can add that twist to my building. I'm going to click on the building again. I'm going to go to flare. Go to flare. And then the reason I used flare and not squash is because flare has this curve thing. And I can go there, and then I can also go there. That's the wrong side again. And then shrink that down. Okay? I don't want to go too drastic on that curve. I want it to feel realistic. If I did a spirally type of building, it might seem like it's too far out there for realism. Okay? If it was something that was actually going to be that spirally, I may actually build one room, one floor, and then duplicate it and rotate it, and that would feel more realistic as to how it would be built in the real world. Okay? So I'm going to actually back off a little bit. So here's my flare, here's my twist, here's my tweak, which is basically all of these. And then here's my polycube. So if I didn't put enough divisions in, I won't get a very detailed model. As I add more divisions in here, it allows me to add more detail to the model. I'm going to go with the same divisions in the width, same divisions in the depth. And then here's the height. And again, you can kind of see how it's shaping that out as I go. And if I need more windows, I can definitely add more windows. If I want my windows to be, rectangle vertically, I can do that. If I want them to be rectangle horizontally, I can do more like that. Okay, so I'm just, again, looking at those window sizes. I think that would look kind of cool. I want to go to my twist, and I definitely want to back off on the twist some. I think like 45 degrees might be a good amount. Cool. All right. So that's the rough shape of my building. I'm going to take that, and I'm going to duplicate it. I just need the building. And then I'm going to grab all this stuff and just group it and hide it. Okay, so I have my shape. I'm going to use the shape. And if I need to, I can delete this and go back to the original and tweak it if I mess up. Typically, I will mess up. You're going to make iterations. Unless you're perfect at this software already, you're going to make mistakes. So now what I want to do is I'm going to go through and I want to lay out. What do I want to do first? I'm going to lay out where my windows are. So I'm going to go to my faces. And I want to grab all the faces where I want windows to be. Consider the fact that if you look at any building reference, they don't typically have building or windows that go all the way to the bottom and all the way to the top. Typically, you're going to see some sort of, like this one is an exaggeration there, but typically you're going to have some sort of like border on the top and a border on the bottom. So that's what I'm going to incorporate in mine. It also feels a bit boring to have the same thing going the entire time. Where this, how it's kind of broken up at the top, same thing there, that's a bit more interesting. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to go and grab all my faces. Okay, so I have every single face selected. I'm going to switch to my front view, and I'm going to deselect using Control those bottom 2 layers there, these top 3 layers here. And thinking of this as an actual building, I think if I lived here, I probably want like a good... Leave that there. Leave that there. I think right about there. I'm going to use that chunk right there as like an observatory area. Okay. So now that I have this, I'm going to extrude. So I hit Control E. I'm going to keep faces together off, and then I'm just going to bring that in. Maybe not so much. There we go. And then I'm going to extrude again. And I'm going to add detail every step of the way here. So I'm going to push this in a little bit. Don't go crazy. Like, I don't know very many windows that are like that, but don't go crazy on that. Extrude again, a little bit more offset. Extrude again, push it in a little bit more. Okay, so that adds a nice little level of detail to this. Now at some point, I'm going to have to come back and I'm going to have to color all these windows the color of glass. They're already selected, so it makes sense to do something with them now as opposed to me deselecting and then coming back later and having to re-grab every single one of those faces. Okay, so I'm going to make sure this is good before I move on. This is way too deep. I think that doesn't look very nice. I'm going to go to my first extrude here. My offset's there. I'm going to lower that. There we go, so a little bit smaller. Go to my next extrude. This was a Translate Z. There we go, that feels better. My next extrude, here's my other offset. And my next extrude was a Translate Z, -0.1. There we go. That feels a bit better than what it did a second ago. Okay, so I like the way that looks. Let me see where I'm at. That's good. I'm going to extrude that, or I'm going to pull those off. Okay, so I could assign a material to this, but I'm actually going to like pull it off of that surface. So I'm going to go to Edit Mesh and say Extract. And then I wait. There we go. Go to Object Mode, click off. Now I have my windows as one layer. Actually has many layers. Okay, and then I have my building as another one. All right, so now I'm going to grab my building, hold down Shift, marquee all my windows, which are right there. And then I'm going to combine these. And then wait. And then I'm going to grab everything and delete history. As you start extracting, combining, all that stuff, you do want to delete history a lot more often on these, okay? Especially when we have so many different parts. So now I have one shape that's my building, and then I have another shape that's my windows. Cool. Now I'm going to do some other stuff up here. So I don't want to leave this plain. I think this is going to be kind of boring if it's just plain. So I'm going to grab all these pieces. I'm going to extrude this. I'm going to grab this again, extrude this outward. Extrude it again. I'm going to turn key faces together off. 0.05, there we go, no, 0.02. Notice I'm typing these in. It's very difficult to get the exact number anytime you do that. A little more extruding. All right, now I have some like panels on there. Those will be part of the same building structure, so I'm going to leave it just like it is. As I start building, it's going to be very difficult to kind of visualize what's happening. There's so many divisions, so many little pieces here and there, I can't really see it. So I'm just going to start adding some materials to these, even if they're just placeholder materials. So this is my AI standard surface. I'll just call this glass. And then I'll give this a color blue, which will be more in this realm. And now I can at least see where the glass is, and it makes it a lot easier to visualize what's happening with the building. I'm going to go up here to this. I'm going to grab these. I'm going to extrude them. Just pull it out a little bit. I don't like how this is. If you look at it, it doesn't look like it's perfectly square. It's like offset. It's kind of weird. So I'm going to switch to thickness, and now that gets me a nice square piece on the edge of that. I'm going to grab this, extrude that up. Now in my rendering that I showed, I was actually like, further back and at this angle, so I'm going to see the top of it. So I wanted to kind of incorporate some details up there. I'm going to take this and do a little bevel here. That's kind of good there. A little bevel there. Good. All right, so that's going good there. I may not want my windows to be this close. That's a possibility. You might get to the point like, ooh, I really want to have like some kind of border there to make this a little bit thicker. So we do this. We delete. We bring back our other group. We click the building. We duplicate it again. We Shift-P to unparent it from that group. And then we do our selection again. So you will find, again, over and over again, that sometimes you're like, ooh, I should have done this or that. And this is the only way to really get that back. You restart it, yeah. So I grabbed all this. I'm going to grab all that. Grab this. Grab that. There we go. So that's my new framework. So that's going to be like the border. It's going to come out a little bit. If you look at the corners of buildings, usually they have the brickwork that comes out. Yeah, I think it's good. Actually, not there. Do I want that there? I'll do that there. Oops. And there. Some hotkeys while we're doing this too. Shift lets me click on individual faces, toggle them on, toggle them off. Control will deselect stuff. And Control Shift will add stuff. Okay, so if you're trying to select something and you don't want to deselect something you've already selected, that Control Shift is a huge lifesaver, because if I would have shift clicked this, I would have deselected stuff that I wanted to have. All right, that's good. I think I'm going to deselect these though. Let me undo. This I'm going to select, and that I'm going to select. All right, and that'll be my observatory area. So I extrude again. Oops, I missed the bottom, so I'm going to undo. Make sure I have everything. That looks good. Cool. Extrude. take the thickness up a little bit. That's good there. All right, so that feels better, right? So that feels like, you know, we would have some sort of building framework on there. I'm going to do shift greater than. That will select all of the pieces here, okay, that's not glass, and then I'm going to extract that. This time, though, I'm not going to say, I'm going to say extract. I'm going to come down here and say keep faces together on. It is on, so why did it not do that before? Probably because the other ones, no, see, now it works, whatever. All right, so I have that, and I have this. Cool. All right, so that works. Now I'm going to go to faces. I'm going to grab these faces right here. I'm going to extract those. There we go. So now those are separate because that's going to be a different substance. And then I'm going to take these and do my whole glass thing that I did before. So offset first. And you'll see, like it totally sucks. You're going to have to undo stuff. That's not a big deal, though. It'll turn out better. What you don't want to do is spend even more time on something, and it turns out, you know, kind of cool, when had you just spent a little bit more time undoing something and redoing it, that it could have been super cool. There we go. So there's my glass, and then I'm going to extract this. So you'll see me extracting a lot because I want to keep all these surfaces separate. This is the easiest way to do that. Okay, so now I have this as one piece, and then I have, if I can grab it, this as another piece, which now I have to go through and grab those. So I'm going to grab in here. Okay, these are those surfaces, right? That's just that. So let me combine those. And I'm going to delete history on them. This is all the different pieces of glass here. Usually it's either the top one or the bottom one is the rest of it. Yep, that's the other one. So I'm just going to delete history on this. I'm going to shift P to unparent it. And that would mean that this shape is all my glass. So combine that, delete history on it. Notice I haven't saved anything. It wouldn't be the end of the world. It would just mean I just do it again. I'll save it now, though. There we go. Okay, then I'm going to go into these. You can see how I've kind of taken that original shape and just started sectioning things off from it. So that's why we want to make sure that original shape is good before we move on to the next piece. Oops. Come on, 0.25. There we go. That's way too much. 0.1. Let's see if I like that. Yeah, that's fine. All right, so now let me grab this whole thing, delete history on it. Cool. And then let me grab my glass and assign my glass material. I don't know if I like that. I may swap that out. All right. So now I need to add in some more details here. So I'm going to go into my polygon plane here. Take away the divisions. And everything should have thickness like it's a real building. So if I wanted to have this, you know, right here where this pane of glass is, where this line is right here, I'm going to put it there, and then I'm just going to extrude it and then just give it a little bit of thickness. Okay, even though it's soft, and it's not going to stick out that far then either. And then it's going to be rotated. You're so close. There you go. All right, so that might look good on this one. I don't think it does, though. No, I don't like that. All right, so that's all right. Now I can go into this. Let's say that I want to add a little bit more detail to this bottom area. Grab that, extrude it, pull it out a little bit more so it has a little bit more thickness from the other part. That's good there, like that. Maybe I'll do the same thing up here. Grab all of this, extrude, 0.01, 0.1. There we go. So I'm just trying to build in some different shapes, get some different ideas. There is no front door on this, so I should probably put it in some sort of door. I'm going to delete all these bottom faces. I don't need those. It's just getting in the way. So just extruding for the door area, putting in where I think the door should be. And then I can build the door and put it in right there. All right, I'm going to add a little bit more detail up here. And again, this is where you'll find these tools that are just incredibly helpful. I'm going to grab this and deselect. And then in my top view, that doesn't help at all. Use my lasso and see if I can get this with the control drag. Nope. So I will use a different tool. I will use control, click this one, then control, double click that one. Control, click this one, control, double click that. There we go.
I believe also that tab function where you hold the tab, you can like click and drag. That also can work for taking away faces too.
It will, yeah. I just didn't know if I'd be able to do it on that angle. I'm going to extrude here and just push that down some. Grab this. I think I might just taper this some. Whoops. There we go. That's cool. All right. And I'm going to leave it there for now. I would still come back and I would still tweak this a bit. If I go back to my original building that I had here, I think it was this one. This one actually did end up using these little plates on here, but my glass panes were a bit thicker, the framing, so I would have to make those frames thicker for that to feel a little bit better. You can see my panels there. And I did taper them as well, so you can see how I went through and tapered those. And then here's this little panel that's up here. And then I just created this big like V. I thought that might be kind of cool. I just went under create, type, made a letter, dropped it in there, made sure it had nice bevels and everything. And then I also, if I can get in here, you can see how I've added a little bit of, hide the glass, there we go. I've added some frameworks for where like different things inside the floor would be. If you have glass, you see through it, you want to see something there. Now in my image, when I'm really far away like this, do you notice it? I don't know. I don't think you really notice it too much. But if I were to blow this up into a good printable size, definitely we would see that, okay? We're going to be doing still images of these, so we're not going to be doing a movie, so we don't have to worry about that. But we don't have to worry about like moving close to it. But we do have to worry about the big size. So just be aware that if you do see through your stuff, you may, need to add some other details there. I did also model this. I thought might be kind of cool to have there. And then I said, this is stupid, and I got rid of it. Whoops. So sometimes you will model stuff, and then you just don't like it. And somehow I turned on something that I shouldn't have because there's a bunch of stuff showing up. And I kind of played around with this area a bit just to see like what do I want that to look like. I thought it'd be kind of cool to have that like open area right here. That's like the main area you'd want to work. Okay, So that's a good starting point for you to do your buildings. You'll see how it's not simple, but definitely is pretty like straightforward. Something doesn't work, just go back and undo it or rebuild it. We're going to take about 2 weeks before this is due, but we're going to again have some overlap between the next assignment and this one. Okay, so just reinforcing that kind of stuff. Questions yet?